Nintendo systems often feel like toys, even when they have some pioneering tech packed into them, and in spite of their legendary build quality, specifically fine-tuned to withstand any abuse that a young kid might hurl at it, Nintendo systems feel like toys. They don't ever actually feel like high-end premium electronics or tech gadgets like PlayStation or Xbox products do. Nowhere was this more evident than on the Wii U, where the much maligned Wii U gamepad controller felt like a cheap, flimsy, tacky construction, a Fisher-Price take on the tablet concept. It, like most Nintendo products, never felt desirable. This isn't the case with the Nintendo Switch. The system's reveal video last year showcased a slick, high-end piece of gadgetry far unlike any other Nintendo hardware until that point in time. And when you're actually confronted with the Switch in person, you realize that the video wasn't lying. Gone was the cheap, resistive film that Nintendo stuck with for the longest time, instead of adapting the modern capacitive standard. No, the Nintendo Switch feels like a high-end product, a fabulous gaming tablet that seems to justify its asking price the minute you pick it up. But in this movement from making electronic toys to high-end electronic gadgets, Nintendo has remained Nintendo, and it has not lost the qualities that made it so appealing to everyone in the first place. The Nintendo Switch is instantly, intuitively easy to grasp. When you see it, you know what to do with it. Actually switching from the TV to portable mode is ridiculously easy and every bit as quick as Nintendo has shown it so far. You just pick it out of the dock that cradles it, and without any delay, you're now playing the same game in your hands. Understanding how to get the Joye Cons off can take some time. There is a pretty small button on both sides that you need to hit before you can slide them off. But it took me less than 5 minutes before I was able to do it without even looking. A full-fledged AAA game in the palm of your hands. Voila! The more you fiddle around with the Switch hardware, the more you end up falling in love with it and understanding its value. Nintendo made a royal mess of things when they unveiled the Switch at their Tokyo event. One of the most widely held to be embarrassing parts of the presentation was apparently their demo for HD Rumble. HD Rumble at the time sounded like a waste of time and money. An iteration on technology that no one was asking for iterations on, one with no practical applications for video games, and one that Nintendo spent far too much time explaining at the event with increasingly contrived analogies. On the other hand, when you actually experience HD Rumble, it's a whole different ballgame. Only one of the games that I tried out, ARMS, actually utilized HD Rumble to any meaningful degree, but the difference was apparent immediately. It's not an exaggeration to say that the difference amounts to night and day. HD Rumble is finer haptic feedback. The intensity and even to some degree kind of vibration differs according to what's going on in the game. As an example, in ARMS, the vibrations vary based on the direction, speed, and type of punch and the ensuing impact. So each punch feels different in your hands just as real punches would feel different. Now theoretically, I did not get to try this out myself, and the game does not support HD Rumble anyway. I'm only using it as an example to explain what the feature does. In a game like Zelda, HD Rumble can lead to harder vibrations when your sword hits a shield, softer ones when you cut the grass, it can simulate the drawing of a bowstring when you're readying your bow, and so on. It was a very minor thing, but you instantly understood the appeal. HD Rumble essentially approximates touch in video games, and I can easily see it being instrumental in making VR as immersive as it promises to be. But within the confines of the Nintendo Switch 2, HD Rumble is a winner. The games that I played without HD Rumble support felt indisputably diminished for lacking support for that feature. The Joye Cons in general are extremely well thought out. They're very small, as feared, yes, but they are extremely comfortable, with each Joy-Con contoured around the curves and shape of a human hand. However, there are limits to what comfortable ergonomics can do. Using both Joy-Cons, one in each hand, is arguably the most comfortable control scheme the Nintendo Switch has. You end up with two very comfortable controllers split across both hands, and you no longer have to assume the tense, hunched-up posture that you otherwise have to with an ordinary controller. Indeed, split Joy-Cons are my favorite way to play Switch games, but it's when using the Joy-Cons in literally any other way that problems begin to crop up. For instance, take using one Joy-Con independently as a primary controller. That's actually a big part of Nintendo's pitch for the Switch, that each system effectively comes bundled with two full controllers right off the bat. And this is technically true. Each Joy-Con is a full-fledged controller. There are even two additional buttons, SL and SR, on each Joy-Con that you can access when you're using them as an independent controller held horizontally. It's just an extremely uncomfortable one, whereas ergonomic as the Joy-Cons are, they are also in the end small, and Nintendo has crammed simply too many buttons on there for any individual Joy-Con to be comfortable as the sole method of control. An analog stick, 4 action buttons, and 4 shoulder buttons and triggers, not counting the plus and minus buttons, in addition to the home and share buttons, all on one Joy-Con is excessive. It's too cramped and too uncomfortable. This same problem is also evident when you play on the Joy-Con grip. Things are too cramped, too uncomfortable, too close together. The shape of the grip is also not conducive to long sessions of play. It ultimately comes down to what I said before. The Joy-Cons have way too much going on. The only way they work effectively as controllers is if you split them apart. This means you get the comfort of the shape, and you get the benefit of inputs now being spread across two hands. This modularity is ultimately greatly to their benefit. That apart, the Joy-Cons largely impress. The analog stick on them can throw you off for a bit, the angle of rotation there is a bit smaller than you expect, and it can take a couple of minutes to get used to it. But when you do, all's well and good, and you don't even notice any difference. The Joy-Cons are also extremely sophisticated motion controllers. I've never actually once played with any motion control I found as accurate and as shockingly satisfying as I did the Joy-Cons. I know a lot of core gamers are over motion controls at this point, and even the casual audiences have moved past the Wii fad, but the Joy-Cons could finally realize the promise of proper motion control in games that doesn't get in the way. At any rate, the motion controls and HD rumble make them exceptionally well suited to be VR controllers. The one thing the Joy-Cons do get wrong is the D-pad, or the complete lack thereof. Where they should be a D-pad, there are instead 4 independent buttons set in a diamond shape. Not only are they too cramped, they're too inaccurate and imprecise. The Joy-Con D-pad is actually pretty horrible. It is without exception the worst D-pad I've ever had the misfortune of playing with. You can see that it is a concession made to the necessity of having each Joy-Con be an independent controller, but it also means that out of the box, playing 2D games on the Switch like Shovel Knight and Sonic Mania is going to be extremely unpleasant. The D-pad on the Joy-Con is an abomination, and I spent a good 5 minutes contemplating on in sheer disbelief that the inventors of the D-pad could think something like this was acceptable. Now, if you want a proper D-pad, instead if you just want a traditional controller without any of the finicky nature of the Joy-Cons, then you're in luck. The Switch Pro controller does exist, and is without a doubt the best controller that Nintendo has ever made. The shape is great, the analog stick placement is great, all the buttons are well spread out, it has a nice, responsive, clicky D-pad, and it comes with the complete functionality of the Joy-Cons, with HD rumble, full motion controls, and an amiibo reader being built right into it. The Switch Pro controller is arguably the best controller on the market at the moment, and you'll definitely want one for yourself sooner or later. I think that in terms of comfort, it doesn't come in first, losing out to the split Joy-Con configuration, but it's definitely a marvelous joy for those who might want a more traditional controller to play their games with. While all the control schemes I've been describing so far work perfectly for me, whether you're playing the Switch as a console or as a handheld, it's indisputable that these are essentially all controller configurations designed with TV play in mind, first and foremost. Indeed, if you'll be playing the Switch as a handheld, chances are that those Joy-Cons will stay attached to the system and you'll play it as one big handheld. The good thing is, the Switch lends itself to that style of play extremely well. While it is big, its overall volume is far smaller than the Wii U gamepad, and honestly, not that much bigger than a new Nintendo 3DS XL opened up. Indeed, the first thing you notice when you see one in person is just how small a Switch really is. Promotional material makes it loom far larger than it functionally is in real-life usage. It doesn't weigh much either. Again, it weighs about as much as a new 3DS XL, and the weight distribution is excellent. It is also exceptionally ergonomic. The hand cramps inducing Nintendo 3DS is a memory of a distant past. The Nintendo Switch is as comfortable as any handheld has ever been. The controls, comfort, build, and finish apart, the Switch's dominating feature is its screen, and what a screen it is. Undoubtedly the best screen on a portable gaming device ever, coming in far ahead of both PS Vita screens. It's big, bold, bright, with sharp colors and extremely gorgeous contrast, resolution, density, and clarity. 720p may not seem like a lot, but at 6.2 inches, that gives the Switch screen a PPI of about 320, which is in line with an iPad mini or iPad Air, and no one complains about the screens on those devices, with good reason too. Those are excellent screens, and now the Nintendo Switch screen is too. The one thing you need to remember is that the Switch is not even remotely on par with the Xbox One or the PS4. Contrary to initial reports, speculations, or just wishful thinking, the Switch is slightly more powerful than the Wii U. Indeed, the jump from the Wii U to the Switch is perhaps equivalent to the jump from PS4 to PS4 Pro, for instance. There's a very definite improvement, made even more notable by the Switch's portability, but you will not be buying the Switch for its power. Most Switch games that I played, Splatoon 2, excellent and every bit as compelling as the original, ARMS, probably the most fun Switch game I got to play, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'll be posting a full preview feature on this game later to share my thoughts on it, Sonic Mania, the return of glorious 2D Sonic that most Sonic fans have been yearning for far so long now. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the best Mario Kart game yet in its best incarnation, Among others looked really nice, but they looked like slightly more polished Wii U games. Which means they don't look bad, since diminishing returns in modern graphical tech, as well as the art style used on most Nintendo games, means that they look good within reasonable limits of acceptability. But you're not going to get Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4 Pro or 6 teraflops kind of graphics here. If this is what you're looking for, stop and turn elsewhere. The value of the Switch lies in its hybrid modularity, in its portability, in its exclusive game lineup from Nintendo, and in all the new ways to play that it offers, and even in its overlooked gimmicks like HD Rumble and motion controls. If you buy a Switch, you buy it because a hybrid console fits into your life, or because you want to play Nintendo games. Don't go into it with the expectation of getting a powerful home console. But the Switch doesn't need to be a powerful home console. It is the most powerful portable gaming system ever made. It has some genuinely neat tricks up its sleeve that catch you off guard. It has some great games on it. It's exceptionally well made, with startlingly high-end quality construction and finish, and it does everything that it sets out to do exceptionally well. The Nintendo Switch is primed to be a success as it stands right now. It's a machine that's instantly appealing from the minute you lay your eyes on it. Much like the PS Vita, it's a machine that exudes desirability. What the Switch's ultimate fate is something that the market and Nintendo's handling of the machine will decide. But after a few hours on the Nintendo Switch, I for one am glad that Nintendo made this system. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.